It's Saturday evening. It's time to talk about the very best comic books in the entire world, and one kind of big topic that we want to get to with our good friend Drew. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing fantastic, Wes. Yeah, it's a beautiful, cold Saturday. It's chilly. It's championship weekend for the NFL. But let's talk about the best comics of the week.
Before we do that, I do want to talk about Wolverine Revenge. Jonathan Hickman, Greg Capullo, and I cannot believe just how poorly this book has turned out. It is complete ass, is the best way to describe reading this. I thought it maybe they decided to pay us a mercy and ended at 3 issues fucking 3 months ago because we hadn't sniffed it since then. It comes back this week and somehow got worse this week. Sabretooth, Wolverine is making sure that he doesn't have his healing factor anymore. We have Old Man Logan now, and he shows up once a year to saw off pieces of him to make sure that they don't grow back. Like, I understand you're trying to push the fucking limits here, but that was fucking weird.
Yes, it's fucking weird. It's beyond ludicrous. It's beyond stupid. It's more or less, it's more like a continuation of, I think, the previous issue or issue 2 with just Wolverine and Sabretooth standing off with one another, except Sabretooth isn't standing here. No pun intended. It's just...
He's got no legs. He cut him off, torturing him.
Yeah, he's in Xavier's hovercraft, hovering wheelchair now. And spoiler alert. But it's just, they're just talking to each other the whole time. Again, it's like, what are we fucking doing here? It's like, are you kidding me? That we're doing this again? Every page, I'm saying to myself, are you effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? Nothing of substance happens here. And you brought up earlier, Old Man Logan, and he's ripping off what Mark Miller did like 10 years ago, 15 years ago at this point, except doing it in a much more boring fashion. I Am Slackjawed is another example of an artist being wasted, of drawing talking heads with nothing happening, nothing of substance. And when you have Greg Capullo, he's back at Marvel. I'm expecting some graphic, kick-ass action, violence, and viscera. None of that here. None of that. Marvel should be ashamed of themselves for publishing this book. This is an absolute waste of talent.
Well, Jonathan Hickman should be ashamed of himself because he has nothing interesting to say about Wolverine. And he's trying to cover up with gore. Like, we'll have him just cutting pieces of Sabretooth off. Well, let's have him have a 3-on-1 fight against the Omegas. Clones of Omega Red, and there's Omega Black and Omega White. And they pump him full of bacteria so he has a bunch of boils on him. So he's vomiting while they're fighting. And it's just window dressing on a writer that literally had not an ounce of idea or anything of substance to say about a character. And Marvel still published the comic book. I cannot believe this has happened. So fucking terrible. I'm furious about this because Jonathan Hickman, Greg Capullo together on a Wolverine story should be the easiest thing in the history of the world.
It absolutely should. And I think this is an example of an artist who goes back to the big 2. And I guarantee you one of the stipulations is that whatever editorial is overseeing me, they're not going to have much of a say in this. I guarantee you Jonathan Hickman has a lot of leverage in what the editors suggest, say, or want in this book, because I like to think a competent editor would have said, Jonathan, yeah, this struggle you put in here between Wolverine and the Omega whatever, and nothing really happens. There's no real struggle. It just ends after 2 pages. Wolverine doesn't struggle. It's like, yeah, we have to go a little bit longer. Wolverine actually needs to struggle in this fight. But no, none of that. There's no drama here. There's no real drama. It's just a syncretic routine of just talking and repeating the same things over and over again. No growth, nothing is learned, nothing new. It's just, like you said, it's everyone from top to bottom should be ashamed of this book.
Yeah, what seemed like was going to be the can't miss miniseries of 2024. Obviously, it's going into 2025 now. Has been an absolute miss at every single level possible, and I can't believe this happened. But let's talk about the good stuff, because we do have some damn good comic books to talk about. Starting with the indie scene, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, 313, Larry Hama writing, Chris Mooneyham on art. Leading up to this moment, this war for Springfield, you've got Serpentor Cod, you've got the Dreadnoughts, you've got Cobra, you've got G.I. Joe ninjas that have infiltrated the town. And now we finally get the Destro versus Cobra Commander fight 101. Mano a mano, Cobra Commander with new battle armor that looks like $1 million fucking bucks. Thank you very much, Chris Mooneyham. And this thing was an all-out brawl from beginning to end. Loved every single inch of this book.
100%. Could not agree with you more. This is my pick of the week. And I really believe this is Chris Mooneyham's shining moment in the series, because there are absolute moments in this book, Wes, where if you look at these pages, how he illustrates Destro or whatever, or Cobra Commander, it looks Sienkiewiczian. I just dubbed that phrase. It looks very much like a Bill Sienkiewicz illustrated that page. And they are absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. And I had so much fun reading this book. This what Larry Hama and Chris Mooneyham are doing here. This is what Hickman and Capullo should have done with Wolverine Revenge, or Jonathan Hickman and Cicchetto on Ultimate Spider-Man. This is how you do it. This is how you illustrate a superhero kick-ass comic book. This is how you do a comic book. And I don't understand it. This is the blueprint, and no one is following this. This is the book of the week and one of the best books of 2024, and will probably continue to be one of the best books of 2025. If you want to see a comic book done right, how it should be, read G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero. Larry Hama, Chris Mooneyham are a dream team.
And there's even some funny moments where you got the dreadnoughts and the G.I. Joe ninjas. Should we go inside? Love all that stuff. Also going to recommend Hyde Street #3, Jeff Johns writing, Ivan Reis on art. Obviously, this is part of Ghost Machine. It appears to have been released a month after they initially planned on it. It's clearly meant to be a Christmas special. This is my personal pick of the week. I think everything about this particular comic book is essentially perfect. I love Ivan Reis. I love him even more on a horror-inspired comic book. We've got an evil Santa imposter stealing kids' dreams and presents, telling kids that Santa doesn't exist, finds himself on Hyde Street, and against the norm, Frankie, the little Boy Scout Hyde Street resident, I think is what they're called, decides he's going to help out Mr. X-Ray get a soul under his belt being this bad Santa because the scorekeeper told him he had to do it. This is a very, very impressive comic book, wonderful Christmas special with a lot of horror themes to it, and I am digging Hyde Street. I think this is the best issue they've done so far.
Honestly, I think it's probably the second best for me. I really did love the origin of Frankie. But yeah, I love seeing his origin in a previous issue. But this one was just as good. And this Santa Claus, this guy who's dressing up as Santa Claus, this guy is absolute, just scum. What he's doing to these kids and these families, robbing them, and this guy's got it coming to him. And just seeing the plan that they got in place, what they want to do to the guy, it's pretty cool and neat. But I do love the swerve it takes toward the end, the little left turn it makes, like, oh, we got another
view of a new resident that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I love this guy. I love how he looks, and I'm very curious to hear about his origin. This could be pretty interesting. Yeah, but you think it's going to go one way, but Jeff, being the great writer he is, he takes us on a hard left turn, and I dig it. And this is very much a fun read, just like G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero. You cannot go wrong with Hyde Street this week.
Absolutely, loving Hyde Street, and I'm getting to review it in full on the Patreon. That was the Patreon pick of the week. I'm very excited to do that review in the not too distant future. Should come out this weekend. We're also going to recommend The Magic Order 5, #4, Mark Miller writing, Matteo Bufanghi on art. I believe there's only one issue of Magic Order left after this. And there's a lot of setup. We get the origin for Clyde and his 3 demons, which I thought was really interesting. Clyde, upon his arrival in the Magic Order, I feel like is quickly ascended to becoming the most interesting character that's even in the book at this point, but they've moved all the pieces around the board. We've got this assassin old lady that's arrived on the scene. We've got the leader of this weird order that's there to take her out. We've got the prophecy that Cordelia Moonstone is going to die. We've got Clyde saying that he's going to protect her, and it's all coming to a head in issue #5, set up beautifully in this 4th issue. Matteo Bufanghi absolutely nails the art in this one. And a fantastic comic book as we get to the end of something that I think a lot of people in retrospect will realize was actually pretty special the whole time.
There's a lot more setup going on in this issue than I thought there would be. I'm like, because a lot of what the setup for the villains, the backstories, especially what we get at the end, it's like, this really feels like the opener of a series from Mark Miller, because what they're teasing, what's going to be happening at the end of this, it's like, this is pretty big. And you only got one more issue to do this. It's like, I wouldn't have thought that, but all right, hopefully it's like a double-sized issue. But and also what they're teasing at the end, it really felt like something that would have belonged in the Prodigy series, because I wouldn't have thought this would have been associated with the Magic Order. But hey, I'll go with it. It sounds fun to me. Looks pretty cool. This is very much a fun issue. It's been a very fun series. If you haven't read the Magic Order, do jump in on this. This is a blast. This is Magic done right.
And we've got lots of Mark Millar stuff coming in 2025. We got more Nemesis. We've got Huck returning, a unannounced Mark Millar JR thing. Hopefully it's kick-ass, but we shall see. And there's something else. Oh, Vatican City is also out there. Mm-hmm. So he's got plenty of stuff coming in the next year as well. So if you're going to be missing Millar World, do not fret. It will be back very soon. Final indie recommendation, Space Ghost #9, David Pepos writing, Jonathan Lau on art. I think technically this comic book might have come out last week. And once again, it's absolutely phenomenal. We've got the Iron General Medalist, thinks that he's disposed of the Space Ghost, but ghosts don't die easy. And it turns out he's destroying things from the inside. But at the exact same time, we've got Jace, Jade, and Blip taking him on from the outside, trying to take down this unstoppable force from all sides at the exact same time. As things get very, very personal for Space Ghost, this is the man that destroyed his family, killed them, destroyed his planet, took everything from him. There's a moment where he takes an artifact from his home planet, ties it to his hand, and starts beating this robot with it that I thought was absolutely phenomenal. Jonathan Lau, job well done, sir.
Yes, Jonathan Lau, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He is a superstar in the making. He will be at DC or Marvel illustrating a major superhero in the next year or so. He will be, I guarantee it. This issue was a lot of fun. And like you said, for the opening of this book, for the first several pages, we don't really see Space Ghost. And we were following, Jason and the others and trying to survive, trying to fight off the bad guys. But then how Space Ghost is introduced in this issue, oh, I loved it. It was so flipping cool. It's so beautiful, so badass. And yeah, like I said, at the end of it, the final confrontation with Space Ghost and Big Baddie, bloody well done. Yeah, Space Ghost once again proves to be one of the best series, not indie series, one of the best series out in the market right now. Do check out Space Ghost, guys. You will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. If I haven't sold you yet, I am going to be doing a Space Ghost Spotlight. It should come out this week, but if it's not out this week, it'll be at the very beginning of next week. It's something I've been very excited to get to, but I haven't had the time yet. I'm going to have the time to do it this week because I'm loving the Space Ghost. Now let's move over to Marvel because they are the market leader. Maybe not in quality, but certainly in notoriety, in awareness. And I've got one comic book to recommend from them, Ultimate Spider-Man 13, Jonathan Hickman writing, Marco Cicchetto on art. This is a very difficult comic book to recommend because I don't like a third of it. Basically, all the Richard Parker black suit stuff, I'm not very fond of. In fact, I think it's actually quite stupid. But the stuff with Peter and the stuff with Harry and the Sinister Six and the revelation of what the Savage Land is in this Ultimate Universe and Peter Parker fighting velociraptors with his bare hands just kind of spoke to me. Marco Cicchetto knocks this particular issue out the park. There might be a little bit too much dialogue between the Sinister Six, but once it finally starts moving, it's so enjoyable that I think it overcomes the weaknesses of the story.
Okay, so this is where we're going to have our one disagreement this week, Wes. I hated this issue. Once again, I really wish I had gone back to my comic book shop and asked for my money back because this issue, to me, was boring. Granted, yeah, like you said, we do get some dinosaur stuff toward the end, but to me, that was too little too late in this issue. How the previous issue ended, I had thought and hoped we were going to get an answer as to how Spider-Man and Harry got the jump on them and lost. But no, we get the Simpsons joke, well, sir, I won't bore you with the details of our miraculous escape. But in this case, it's, well, reader, we're not going to bore you with the detail of the brutal fight that took place that ended in our capture. It's a bunch of talking heads, once again, with wasted art from Marco Cicchetto. And the cliffhanger here, I mean, if you actually think we're going to get something imitating a struggle between Black Cat and Spidey Venom Jr. or Kraven and the Benign Six against Harry and Peter, you're wrong. It's not going to happen. There's zero drama and zero, half action here. I wouldn't say zero action, but half. This is the unexceptional Spider-Man to me. This is, I expect more out of this book.
Oh my goodness. Drew, you are a sad, sad man. How much haterade did you drink before we came onto this podcast?
3 hours worth. I am stacked with haterade.
Oh my goodness. I say it's still good. It overcomes its flaws, but it is a flawed book. We have one final recommendation from the distinguished competition, DC Comics themselves. Superman 22, Josh Williamson, Dan Mora on art, And I'm liking what's going on in Superman, but I have to be honest here. Dan Mora is carrying this series. Although the story has gotten better, the art is absolutely elevating everything going on in Superman. It's making Superwoman kind of work here. We got Jimmy Olsen determined to take a picture of Superwoman. We have I think they're called the Aftermath. The people that have been destroyed by Doomsday coming to Earth demanding that Superman has captured, and they've kept him kind of subdued and whatever. They're demanding that he gets a body. He says no. There's a big battle breaking out. Of course, Time Trapper has demanded that Superman kill Doomsday. He refuses to do that. We get a really big cliffhanger between Time Trapper and Lois Lane that I thought was pretty darn cool. Business is picking up on Superman, and Dan Mora, job well done. Chef's fucking kiss, because this is a beautiful looking comic book.
It is an incredibly beautiful comic book, and how he illustrates, I think it's a double pager, Wes. It's like we see all the massive ships in the space in the sky over Metropolis. I'm that is incredible how he illustrated that. And I do love how this Joshua Williamson, had pulled back from Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey from the 1990s. This group, these people, they were killed by Doomsday, and but we got one or two survivors. I think it's the Radiant is the character, and it's that constant question, that constant struggle. Should we kill this villain who has killed so many? It's like the Batman Joker situation, or Fantastic Four Galactus. Here it's Superman and Doomsday. Should we kill Doomsday for the good of the universe? But will Superman do it? We can go back and forth on this for hours. We're not going to waste time on this, but it's fun how they do it here, and the people who want it, you understand why. But it's a very fun issue. Like I said, Dan Mora, he's carrying the load here. His art is immaculate. Once again, how he's doing 2 books right now and covers for World's Finest. He is the current Neil Adams right now doing all this work, and good for him. Great for him. I hope he's getting paid well, because this is a beautiful looking book. It's a relatively fun book too. Do check out Superman, guys. It's picking back up in the fun factor.
We do have the Summer of Superman coming up in 2025, but also something that's probably even more exciting, at least for the viewers of Thinking Critical. There's an opportunity to meet Drew and Aaron Sparrow at MegaCon. Aftermath is coming. 2 comic books. We've got a Alien homage cover. We've got an appearance at MegaCon. We've got a preview edition available right now. What do the people need to know, Drew?
Aftermath #1 is available right now at ComicKingdomCreative.com. You can get the 8-page preview right now. If you can't buy it, if you don't want to buy it online, you want to meet us in person, you can meet Aaron Sparrow, Spencer Voykin, publisher, creator, as well as myself at MegaCon. Get your copy there, get it signed by me. This is one of the most fun projects I've ever had the pleasure of being able to write. We have arguably the best art team in the business right now. We got Andre Lunatic, we got Shelby Robertson, we got Dan Kemp, image legends, as well as a superstar in the making of Andre Lunatic. What would happen on the planet Earth if everyone was granted a superpower and it goes horribly wrong? And I couldn't be happier with this book. You guys are going to love this. It is fantastic. Aaron Sparrow is editing us along the way. You will not be disappointed. Do check out Aftermath, guys. It is every bang for your buck.
If you are interested in that preview comic book, there is a link in the video description. And I must say, because Drew got this wrong, it's no longer Aaron Sparrow. He's decided to change his name to Aaron Psychopath to kind of try and keep up with Andre Lunatic. What fabulous names going all over there at Blame Canada Publishing. But definitely go down to MegaCon, meet some of these guys that are part of the Thinking Critical family. Really appreciate that. But also support Thinking Critical on the Patreon. There's a link in the video description. We've got something like this, but so much bigger. It's called the Hot or Not Podcast with our good friend Jim. And we talk for 2.5, 3 hours every single week about all the new major publications. And we have a little thing called the Dad Corner. That's a whole load of fun. Hope to see you there.